My name is Prof Tan. I'm the director for the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. This center is at the Nanyang Technological University, and our role is to look into how we can promote excellence in learning and teaching. So what we do encompasses end-to-end from faculty development, content development, as well as the IT support and hosting of the e-learning service for the campus. Today, that service is used by about 30,000 students and 1,006 faculty members. And the usage during term time is about 22 million page views a week.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Right. Yeah. So in one calendar year, we get something like almost 500 million mouse clicks. Yeah, I think such events are important because it is an opportunity for people to come together, people who are at different stages of e-learning, to share and to learn from each other. I think e-learning is very, very exciting. And what is happening here is that today many people are asking questions. How, what, if, when. And I think through such events, some of these questions will be answered. And hopefully what will happen is after the event, people will network together and hopefully they will be able to form communities of practice whereby they can share. And I think education is unlike industry where there's more sharing. In fact, the more you share, the more you benefit. So I hope that will be one of the outcomes after the conference. I think it goes back to the question of why we do it. I think one of the driving forces is a recognition that today our students are different. That alone is a good reason to reconsider the way we teach our students. Technology comes and goes, as well as the whole is becoming more global. That is something that I think we need to recognize. Some people choose to ignore it and just do what they do on campus. But I think when we put all three things together, the fact that today our students are different, they will be on our campuses for maybe 3 to 4 years, by which time when they leave, they have to be effective employees, workers in the digital economy. So what we try to do is that within this short time, at this very crucial period of their professional development, we try to prepare them so that they will not just be domain strong in terms of their professional knowledge, but also in the way they communicate, the way they work together with other people, and the way they understand diverse cultures. That I think is what we try to achieve, and that is something that we try to incorporate into the curriculum rather than putting it as a peripheral component separate from the curriculum. So what we have done is that we have done this pretty successfully in the sense that our students today, they're more articulate, they're also more able to work in teams across cultures as well. Okay, that's a very, very important question. It's a question that schools should ask before they do. Typically, when institutions or schools, where they embark on e-learning, typically they will look into what we call the focus on content and on teaching. Content is important, obviously, because it is the basis and the core of what we want our students to learn. And of course, teaching is the way in which we impart that knowledge to our students. What's interesting is that though many institutions have spent much resources and funding in content and teaching, the outcomes have not been as expected. I think this was highlighted in the keynote speech this morning. So the question is why? And we've been asking the same question, and we feel that perhaps what is missing is the lack of consideration and understanding of what we call the learning quality. So right now we have 3 quality domains, got content, teaching, and learning. Learning is where the rubber hits the road. We were asked at one time by one speaker at a conference that we organized internally, and he posed a question that inspired us to think about what we were doing. The question was this: you have taught them, have they learned? Right, and that's a part that we feel has been overlooked for a long time by many institutions, that to the extent that in spite of all the effort in creating courseware apps and creating rich media content and good teaching, we still do not get the outcome. But now if we focus now on the learning quality, we feel that is where the missing link is. And that's what we are doing. And that's what we advise our friends here, that when they embark on e-learning projects, whether you are an early starter or a mid-stream or a late developer, or a mature development in your e-learning, look into learning quality. Okay, so what do you mean by learning quality? It means that students' learning can be improved through good learning design. And in so doing, at the end of the process, the learning will take place. And that's what I think we should all be looking into and thinking more about. You know, when we first embarked on e-learning years ago, a question was posed to us by a faculty member. And the question is, are our students ready? The answer is they are. And the challenge today we recognize is actually on the teachers. Right? So teachers must also recognize that the students you have in your classrooms today, they're not the same as you were when you were a student. And I think that's the first step, you know, to get yourself to be self-aware and to be aware of the audience and the students that in your classroom. And once you appreciate that, I think that's where you realize that there's the need for you to take more steps forward and trying to match your teaching and the way you communicate with these young people. Right, so I think the keynote is to understand who the students are. And I think in this conference, you got Mark Prensky, who's going to talk about the Gen Y. And I like to believe that it is presentation. All of us will have a better understanding of how different these Gen Y people, how they are in the attitudes, in their behavior, in the strength. And hopefully, you know, the Gen X teachers, you know, like ourselves, will be able to, once they acknowledge the gap, will be able to close the gap. And the outcome of this is our students will benefit from the new way of teaching.